This is Ryan.
And I'm John.
Welcome to preview season.
Oath of the Gatewatch.
Alright, we're a little over 10% of the way through the set previewed so far. And I think that's enough to give us some idea of where the set is headed, but there's still lots of room for discovery. So let's take a look at a few more cards. Up first, Sea Gate Wreckage.
Discover the wreckage.
Oh boy. Now remember, this one really costs 4 lands to use, 3 to pay the cost, and then tapping the land itself. So it's unlikely you'll be able to do much with the card that you just drew that same turn, unless it's really late in the game, by which point you're exactly where you want to be with an empty hand, and you're most desperate for drawing fresh cardboard.
Yeah, this reminds me the most of that old gem, Miko Koro, Center of the Sea, from that bastion of Magic the Gathering, Saviors of Kamigawa. The best time to use Sea Gate Wreckage or a card like it is probably at your own end step, and like Ryan said, late in the game. Both of you are going to have no cards, so the edge is going to go to whoever kind of draws out of having no cards quicker, and Sea Gate Wreckage definitely helps you do that. I can definitely see this being a one of fun of in lots of decks.
Sure. Let's take a look at another land. We've got Ruins of Oran-Rief. So this case, colorless creature pretty much means Eldrazi for our purposes with the Devoid, and that also would include the Scion tokens you'll be getting as a tag-along on a lot of real cards. Being able to buff up your Scions will help you outpace your opponent, and in a two-headed giant game, you can even support your teammate if they play something, and you've got no better use for your land that turn.
Yeah, this is a pretty cute Oran-Rief, the Vastwood reprint, but instead of green creatures, it buffs colorless creatures. It's plenty flavorful, and could be great in the right limited deck. It's not a super high pick and draft, but it's fine 7th or 8th card as long as you are got a colorless theme going on.
Yeah. So let's take a look at this next one, Immolating Glare. So Murder was famous for including exactly 3 words, destroy target creature. This instant drops 1 from the mana cost, but adds a word to the text box. But it feels like a fair trade, as opposed to similar cards like Celestial Flare, which makes your opponent sacrifice an attacker of their choice. This card keeps you firmly in the driver's seat, which is a great place to be when you can pluck off a giant Eldrazi rather than his little Scion token buddy.
So this, if you remember anything about Khans of Tarkir Limited, you'll remember a card, 2 and a white, so a converted mana cost of 3 is called Kill Shot, and it's this exact same card. And this card is 1 mana cheaper, which is pretty great. It fills the same space as Kill Shot, and also fills the same space as a card called Gideon's Reproach from Battle for Zendikar. And that deals 4 damage to an attacker or blocker for the same mana cost. So the drawback here is that you don't get to pick off a blocker, but this card also doesn't mess around with damage, it just kills creatures outright. It's cheap enough on the mana to be a good card if you're in white.
Sure. So let's switch over and look at a green card, specifically a Planeswalker. We've got Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. Now, you probably won't see her very often during limited games, and she's not even particularly well suited for two-headed giant since her abilities all specify creatures you control, so there's no benefit to having a teammate. Being able to spam out her 0/1 plants feels like you'll be on the receiving end of a lot of Scion token beatdowns, at least until you can fire off her -2 and then swing things back in your favor, right? Your 0/1s become 1/2s, start eating those Scions. Now, overall, she's got some ability to defend herself, and her ultimate can be a timely resupply for a dwindling life and card count, but I wouldn't hinge a game plan on her surviving long enough to have an impact.
So what Nissa is telegraphing here is that what green really wants to do, in this set especially, is just flood the board. And in a world of planar outbursts and languish, that is a tall order. Her ultimate is obviously great, but it's a long road to get there, and pulling it off without any bumps in the road seems really, really unlikely. The best Nissa decks will find a way to break her -2 ability, make her -2 ability really good, without conceding anything to the board sweepers.
Sure. All right, let's switch gears back over to a creature now. We've got Ayli, Eternal Pilgrim. Am I saying that one right?
You are.
All right, so here's another legendary creature, which also fits into Tiny Leaders, if that's something you're interested in. Ayli can trade with just about any creature on the table, thanks to her Death Touch, and in a world full of expensive Eldrazi, that means her 2 mana casting cost gives you a great return on your investment. Eating your own creatures to gain life seems kind of counterproductive to me, though. It'll make the game go longer instead of using those creatures to attack and apply pressure on your opponent. But if you can get your life up high enough and keep it there, She will switch into a total beast mode and just becomes the best removal on a stick I've seen in a long time. Watch out, though, for awakened land. She won't be able to touch those. It specifies non-land permanent.
So you mentioned Ayli's rate, and it's really, really good. A 2/3 Death Touch for 2 is just great by itself, especially in Limited. And, I mean, this slots already into the existing 4-color Rally the Ancestors deck pretty well as a way to win kind of through attrition without having to combo off, so to speak, with Rally the Ancestors and Nantuko Husk. It is a really tough card to evaluate because it's so cheap. It's the right mana cost to be good, and it does so much. It just begs to be built around. So I would definitely keep an eye on this card because it's great.
Yeah, and there's lots more great cards to keep eyes on coming down the pipe here, so keep it here for the TCG Player reviews all week long, and get your pre-orders in starting right now. You can get pre-order cards on TCG Player. So we'll catch you back here next time.
Bye.